Hey everyone, it is Amanda. So today I'm going to be answering the questions for the Q&A. And before I get actually started, one of the questions that was asked, I'm going to save it for last because I actually was debating on telling a little backstory. And I decided, you know what, since this is asked, I'm going to go ahead and kind of shed a little light, a little bit in our life. And so, yeah, I'm going to save it for last. So I hope you guys stick around, you enjoy it. I did appreciate everyone that had asked questions, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started. So question number 1. What is my choice of ink when out of the house signing checks and documents? So I used to work at several banks, and I know how their imaging works. And so on checks, I'm not really too picky on inks that I use. As long as it's a dark ink and it's not like a neon color, I go ahead and use it. Doesn't matter if it's green or purple or even like a turquoise color, I go ahead and I use it because I know that it's not going to be a problem when it goes through the imaging. But I am a little picky about documents that I sign because most of them, they prefer either blue or black ink. And so with that, I do have Private Reserve fast drying black ink. But for me, and I don't know if it's the pen that I'm using or what, but it's not fast drying at all. In fact, it takes a lot longer than some of my other inks. So to me, I was like, and again, I don't know if it's the pen that I'm using or what, but I don't use it very often. So the ink that I do use when I'm signing documents is Diamine Midnight, because I prefer blue over black anyways, and it's a dark blue. I do have, it's the J.R. Bond 1670, the Blue Ocean Anniversary ink, the one that doesn't have the gold shimmer in it, and I like that for like a bright blue ink, but I don't always keep a pen inked with that, but I do keep Diamine Midnight always in one of my pens. So that is my choice of ink when I'm signing important documents and different things like that. And I do have to sign a lot of documents. I'll get to that at the very last question. Number 2, do I keep a journal? And I do. I keep 3 of them. Here's the 3 that I keep. This one here, I picked up, and I won't show you my writing because this is a very personal journal that I keep. But the company that makes it's Piccadilly, and I picked it up at Barnes & Noble, and this is my prayer journal. So, every day I'm writing in this journal here. And then this one I picked up at like a little boutique shop, and I'll show you some of it. Just got different, well, sorry, you can't see that, but it just has different colored pages and stuff in there. It's not the best fountain pen friendly paper. I do have to use an extra fine nib, and then there's a lot of ghosting and bleed through that happens if I use something other than an extra fine nib. But I like it just because it's so pretty and it's fun. And that one, I write in it about like once a week or so, and just kind of a run through of what's going on and that sort of thing. And then this one here, one of my pen pals made this for me and sent it to me. So I was really excited about this this journal. And I keep, like, if I'm getting a new fountain pen, or I got a new fountain pen, or got a new fountain pen ink, I go ahead and I talk about it or write in my journal here. Just because like to go like I don't know, just especially inks and pens. I kind of want to go back and see like exactly my like what I was thinking about and what I loved about that pen when I first used it and that sort of thing. So those are the 3 journals that I use on like, pretty much an everyday basis. Question number 3, what is my dream pen and do I have it yet? And I have to say, like, there's a couple of pens that, like, I really would like to have, but more than those, the 2 pens that I'd really like to add to my collection, it's actually a nib that I would love, like, it's my dream nib that I would be able to get. So the 2 pens that I really like, my dream pens, because I couldn't narrow it down just to one. I was like, but it kind of goes both ways. I would love to get a vintage Waterman 52, just because the like writing samples that I've seen with some of those nibs on those pens, it's like amazing. And I want to work so hard on mastering flex writing. And so I just think it would be so much fun and so exciting to be able to get like my hands on one and to add one to my collection. But I haven't found the one yet. And then the second pen would be a Montblanc 149. I like the simplicity of the pen, and of course it's more the name, so to speak, not so much the pen, but it is, to me, it's a gorgeous pen, and I would love to be able to own one, but not because like, oh, it's an amazing writer, just because I've heard like different reviews on it, but it would be fun, it really would. But the nib that I would be like, hands down, I would rather have the nib over the 2 pens. I would love to be able to get an oblate double broad for my M400. To me, that would just be like, oh. So yes, I did see one on an M1000. I think that's what it was, but I was just like, if they only had it in an M400, I would so jump on it. So last but not least, you had asked the person that had asked this question said, apologize if it's too personal. And to me, it is not, because this kind of goes along with our story. So you asked, what are the ages of my children? And before I go any further, I just want to let you all know that all my children are adopted, or actually 4 of them are adopted, and we're in the process of adopting our youngest. So unfortunately, I'm not able to have biological children, and we haven't gone to specialist. I've gone to a doctor, but I haven't gone to a specialist, because at that point, I was like, I've already waited 4 years to have children, and I'm not going to be put through the disappointment anymore. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'm ready for looking into adopting. So, little backstory. My husband and I, we in May actually will be married for 6 years. And when we first got married, I'm the oldest of 5 children. And I seen the struggle firsthand of having a large family. And I had always said, I don't want a big family. 3 was the most children that I had wanted. And so, yeah, I didn't want a big family. And I actually wanted to wait quite a while after my husband and I got married, because I worked in a preschool and that kind of ruined it for me. And I know different people, like other people's children is a whole lot different than your own. So I was like, you know what, we're just gonna wait a couple of years and go ahead. Well, we hadn't even been married for a couple of months, and I got baby fever, and I was like, well, let's try. And I'm so thankful, honestly, I am so thankful that it worked out when it did. God's timing is so much greater than ours, because being first married, there's a lot of things that we had to kind of like work out. Every marriage like has its own problems and different things that you just have to work through. And we did. We needed to get that point to where we were like this great team. Not that our marriage is perfect by any means, because I don't think anybody's is. But we really needed to get to like this understanding of each other, and that wasn't going to happen in the first few months of our marriage. But we did. We started trying. At the time, neither one of us had insurance, and so weeks turned into months, and months turned into years. And finally, I had a job. It's my daughter. She makes noises when she's sleeping. But anyways, I finally had a good job where we had good insurance, and we decided to go ahead and start trying to figure out what was wrong. And went through like blood tests and all kinds of doctor's appointments, and I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism and all this stuff. And they said, well, we'll put you on this medicine and this should help. Well, it didn't. And then they put me on several rounds of different medicines to try to see if I would be able to have children, and it didn't work. And I had always wanted to adopt, but of course, I wanted to have like biological children first. And once they got to an age to where we could explain adoption and that sort, then we could, see how that would, follow that avenue in our life. But it didn't happen that way. And my husband, he was kind of open to adoption, but not really like gung-ho for it. And since I had gone at this point, it was, 2.5 going on 3 years of no children and, trying and all of that. I was like, I'm just so ready to adopt. I so badly, more than anything, I just want to be a mom. And I don't care how that happens. I want to have children run through my home. I want to hear the words like, I love you, Mom. I did, like, so bad. That's what I wanted more than anything in the world. And it didn't matter if it was like a biological child or a child that we adopted, because either way, I was gonna love that child like they were my own, because they would be. But my husband, he's just like, no, I want us to keep trying. I want us to have biological children. And I was really torn, because I was like, I'm not able to have kids. Like, the problem is obviously it's me. It's not you. It's I'm not able to have kids. I'm not able to give you biological children. And I had to ask him, when will you be okay with adoption? And he turned to me and, very serious. He says, when the doctor tells you you can't have kids, that is when we'll go ahead and pursue adoption. And I remember it. It was just a couple days after my birthday 2 years ago. It was 3 years ago. Yes. No, what? When was it? 2012? Yeah, so this May will be 3 years. 2012, just a couple days after my birthday, I went in for a doctor appointment after finishing a round of medicine, and it didn't work. And the doctor said, you know what? You're just one of those women that you're not able to have kids, and I'm sorry. And she referred me on to a specialist, but my husband and I had talked about it, just because the risk for everything that I had, the risk was for miscarriage. I have a 50% chance. If I was to ever conceive, I have a 50% chance of miscarrying. And to me, I was like, I can't go through a loss like that at this point in my life, because I have tried so hard, and this is something that I prayed about and I've wanted for so long. And if something like that were to happen, I don't know how I'd be able to come back from that. I'm sure I would, but I know I would not be the same person. And so I remember walking out of that, and it was devastating. It was hard to hear. But at that point, I was like, I just knew. I was like, the way I'm going to have children is through adoption. So we started looking into private adoption, and I was actually shocked and floored how expensive private adoption was. Because to me, it's like, if two parents can give a child a home, why should it have to cost like tens of thousands of dollars to provide that for, like, you have to pretty much buy a baby. And to me, I can't wrap my head around it, because I'm like, there's thousands of kids that need a home, that need parents. But because you put a price on it, it makes it hard for people to do that. I mean, my husband is an assistant pastor. And so there's no way that we would be, even if we did fundraiser, we don't know enough people and we couldn't get the word out. And I mean, we'd be waiting years to make that dream possible. And so it was just, one door was shutting right after another. And it was like pretty sad, and depressing. But I just had to be like, okay, God, you know what you're doing. And at first we didn't want to go through foster care because working in our church, we'd seen foster kids come in and out and through the church, and they have problems. Just to put honestly, they do. And it's not necessarily their fault. They've gone through things, and that's how they cope. But at the time, before we went through the training, that's not something that like I understood. I didn't think about it. I just thought like, man, why does that child steal all the time? Because that's the only way that child knows how to get attention. And so we went through, back up a little bit. So we didn't really want to go through foster care, but at the time, like if we did go through foster care, the state would help out immensely as far as training and when it came down to the adoption process. So we were like, you know what, that obviously that's the route that we need to go. When we prayed about it, we talked to our pastor and everything. And we did. We decided we're going to start the classes, 10 weeks of classes just for foster care. And for adoption, you needed other classes, more hours. I think it was like 10 more hours of classes on top of that we had to take. So we got license for foster care, license for adoption. And when we first got into foster care, of course, like we've never been parents. I've had some interaction with kids, but we said 1 child, 2 at the most, if it was a sibling. And the age range that we want is 0 to 2.5 is like the max that we're willing as far as kids go. And so several weeks, even a month and a half passed after we're licensed, and everybody else in our class, like they had placements and everything like this, and we're still sitting here, we're like, we don't have anything, And I'll never forget, it was in February, I got a call from this lady, and I didn't happen to answer my phone on time, so she left a message, and she was asking us to do what's called respite care. And what that is, it's pretty much the kids are already in a foster home, but they need a foster parent to watch them for just a short amount of time, like they go on vacation or that sort of thing. And she asked us to do respite for 3 kids that her and her husband had in their care. So I was like, that should be fine. It's a week. It's like, we're not keeping them. They need help. And we need the experience. Honestly, it wouldn't hurt us. And my husband, I remember, he was like, no. Because at that time, he was home and I was working. And so he would be the one home in the daytime. And he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with 3 kids. And the ages of the kids, they were 4, 2, and 1. And I was like, it'll be easy. I'll come home in the afternoon. You got this, honestly. Just get a couple of coloring books and let them color. Take them outside in the back. They'll have so much fun running around outside. And so he was like, okay, fine. Because I was like, it's not like we're going to keep them or anything. And so I called her back and I told her, yes, we'll be able to watch them for those dates. Everything will be fine. And at the end of the conversation, she was like, oh, by the way, the caseworker just wanted to let you know that the case goal is going to be changed to adoption here pretty soon. So maybe that's just something you guys want to think about. And I remember how the anticipation, is this something that's even possible? But I was like, no, it's 3 kids. The youngest is 1. The oldest is 4. This is not what we asked for. This is not what we wanted. But we'll go ahead and we'll watch them for the week, but I don't know. And so I remember getting them and getting to watch and see them for the first time, and just in the back of my mind, would we be able to adopt them? And when I had talked to the caseworker, just to get like a little background, we found out that there was an older sibling who was 7. And to me and my husband were like, nope, the kids are not meant for us. One, because it's like as first-time parents and with older children, you don't know what to expect. And to us, like, it's a huge responsibility to raise up children, and we want to raise them up the right way. We want them to have good manners and be respectful and teach them. And so we're like, she's 7 years old. We think that's way too old for what we're looking for. And we really, like, it was unsettling. We had never met her or anything. Well, our licensing worker called us up and he was like, would you guys please consider, like, praying about this, consider, because we really want to keep this sibling group together. And at this point, like, we had already fallen in love with the 3 youngest. And to me, I was like, I come from a bigger family. So I was like, you know what? If we already love the 3, I'm sure we will love her too. And so we did ask if we can meet her one-on-one with her foster mom. And we did. And we did. We fell in love with her. She was so smart and like all this stuff. It was amazing how well it worked. And so in August of 2013, we got to bring all 4 of the kids into our home, and they were pretty much ours because the case school had changed to adoption, and we were the approved adoptive parents. And so we had to have our children in our home for 6 months before we could start the actual adoption process. And because the intricacies of, like, our case, it took over a year before we finalized our adoption. But in September of last year, we finalized our adoption on our 4 kids. And I can't tell you how happy I was, because yes, they were my children the first time that they stayed in our home. Even legally so, they weren't. But to me, they don't share my blood, but they share our name and they share our heart. And I love my kids more than anything. And just a little, like, backing up a month, in August, when we found out that we finally had our adoption hearing, we found out that the biological mom of our 4 kids was pregnant. And at this point, like, I knew I always wanted to have that baby experience. But again, it's something that I had to leave in God's hands. And I did. I had to trust him for it. But at that time, there was so much stuff that was unknown. The only people that we told was our immediate family. And we told, like, 1 or 2 close friends. And we told them, like, you can't say anything, just because we have no idea if we're going to get this baby or not. And I remember we were told that it was going to be a boy and that the mom was due in December. And I was really excited because I wanted another boy so bad, because I wanted my son to have, like, another brother, because there's 3 girls already. And so I was like, it would be perfect. We'd have 3 girls and 2 boys, and it would just be so much fun, and it would be complete, you know. But we went, like, a week before Thanksgiving of last year. We went to Arkansas, because that's where my family and my husband's family is from. And we were there. It was Saturday, and we were sitting down to have Thanksgiving dinner. So I left my phone downstairs because I was like, there's no point to have it at the table. We're having our fellowship. We're having fun. We're eating food. And I go down after we're all done. We had cleared all the plates, cleaned everything up. And I go down and I have a missed call and a text message and all this stuff. And it was a caseworker that says, hey, mom had baby. Are you guys still going to come and, like, pick her up from the hospital? And my husband and I, we had talked a little bit about it. And we, like, when we went in for our staffing for the 4 to get approved to be the adoptive parents, you know, we told them, yeah, we'll take, if she has another one, we'll go ahead and take her, because they like to keep the siblings together. And we were told she had a girl. And I was shocked. And one, we were not prepared at all. We had nothing because we figured, well, we'll go ahead, we'll do our Thanksgiving. We'll come back from Thanksgiving because we had a trip planned to Wisconsin that next week for actual Thanksgiving. And we'll come home, we'll start to get things prepared for it. So we go home. She was born on a Saturday, and we got home that Saturday night, or actually it was Sunday afternoon. And Monday afternoon, we were going to the hospital to pick up our little girl. And at that point, we had no idea if we were only going to get her, to keep her for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, or indefinitely. We had no idea. And it was something that I was just like, God, you're going to have to take care of this because I can't. And I'm not going to, just because I would worry and I would stress and I would overthink all of it, and I don't need to do that. And so in January, we had a court date, and we were able to go ahead and get the green light for the adoption process. So currently that's what we're waiting for. So hopefully in the next couple months, we'll be able to finalize her adoption. So to answer, I know this is a long answer, but my kids' age, they're my oldest, she is 9, then and her name is Eliana. Our second one, her name is Belen, and she is 6. Then we have Julian, he is 4. Jaslyn, she is 3. And then our little Jenna Grace, she will be 5 months on Wednesday. And so we're really, really excited. Yes, we have a big family, but I wouldn't trade it. I honestly wouldn't. My heart is so full, and I just love the fact that God was able to open our hearts to 5 kids. Because when we first started, it wasn't anything that we had in mind or planned or anything like that, but it was all made possible. And it's amazing how everything fit in place. And of course, our kids know that they're adopted, and that's just something that, plays a big part in our lives. And it really is. It's amazing, and I couldn't be happier because I get to be a mom. I get to have my house full of kids, and I'm so excited. And people ask, are you done? Do you want more kids? And to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind it. I honestly wouldn't. Some people, I'm sure, probably think that I'm crazy. But to me, going through that point to where I couldn't have children, even when I had said, I don't want a big family, I know what it's like not to have children. I know what it's like to have that emptiness. And so I don't have that anymore. It's so full. And so I wouldn't mind, as God's going to take care of it all. So I couldn't be happier. And I wanted to share a little bit of our adoption story. And I know it was long, and I'm sure I babbled, but I do hope that you enjoyed a little insight to our adoption story. And once everything is finalized, I would love to share pictures of all of our kids. We can't share anything on social media of our little one. But once everything is finalized, of course, I'm going to be, shouting from the rooftops. You won't be able to keep me silent about it. But I do hope you enjoyed this. And if so, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe. If you have any comments, you can go ahead and comment down below. But I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.